Yes, we do. We
Right
have,
up here.
we have Wayne Flesh and we have Lisa Hotley remotely. We're gonna do roll.
Go into or use a panelist link so that we have members but not guests in closed session.
Well, currently we have no guests.
Okay.
We have the host. and us. I mean, these are members of the commission. We have no public members,
Well, then
non-members.
maybe the simplest solution may be to kindly ask Bridget to step out when the time comes.
Yes,
Not
we
now.
can do that. We
Yeah,
can do that.
in that case.
Oh, yes, last week I just had to become one of the chairs from the other office.
Okay, I'm gonna do the roll call. Let's see. Dan Rosenthal, present. Sue Schaefer's. Nancy Morrow Howell. Sharon Mitchell,
Present.
Liz DeLaCruz.
Here.
Bill Rodriguez,
Here.
Lillian Eunice. Christine Husted, Lisa Hotley,
Here.
Wayne Flesh. Say yes. Morning, and Mike Nickel
He's.
is not here. No, he's in Puerto Rico. So we have a quorum. We have 8 out of our 11.
Christine's.
Oh, we have Christine. We have 9. Great, excellent. Welcome, Christine.
Christine's hands.
Hi, yes, Christine, you want to speak?
I'm sorry. I wasn't able to unmute, but now I can. So sorry.
Okay, well, welcome. We're gonna postpone approval of the December 4th meeting minutes because I had some corrections to the minutes and they didn't get distributed correctly. So we're gonna wait on that, I think, until next month.
Yeah, I can do, and there is like, just if you want to see them, I stamped the password to email onto the minutes, so you can see them.
I see,
But-
I can trust this too.
Oh, so you-
I got all this.
But yes.
Okay, the
Yeah.
big addition was that we voted in, after our closed session at the last meeting, we voted to change our succession rules so that we are having annual elections for the chairman and that if we are absent a chairman, the first vice chair would succeed the chair and the second vice chair would succeed the first vice chair. And if the chair is not present at a meeting, the first vice chair can officiate over that meeting. And if the two are not, then the second vice chair can. So that's been, we voted on it and it just needs to be officially amended in the bylaws. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, but we'll officially vote on approval of those minutes when everybody has them. I didn't have time to review them. I'm gonna move, since we have guests, I'm gonna move the agenda up a little bit. I'm gonna put the senior fund at the top of the agenda. I wasn't sure you were coming, so I printed everything just in case.
I'm sorry.
But I don't think we have a way of sharing these two documents electronically, but I can email them after the meeting. I'm gonna turn the meeting over to you two. I think everyone knows Jamie Upsall and Richard Skidmire has presented to us in the past.
More of these, yes.
So I'm gonna turn the agenda over to you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dean, for being so flexible. Things after the first of the year have been moving very quickly for us at Seniors Count. As you know, our role is we have several foundations that are supporting an education campaign. So our role with these grants from several, we actually have 3 more foundations now that are supporting our education campaign for a total of 6 or 7 now. Our role is to educate the community on what a senior levy fund is and what it could potentially do. And at the same time, our group is also raising money for a separate initiative after the education campaign to implement a Get Out the Vote campaign. And that will be the last 3 months before it is on the ballot. Our goal is to have it on the ballot for November of 2026. We have co-sponsors with 2 county council members, Councilwoman Gretchen Bangert and Councilman Michael Archer. We really appreciate the relationship we have with you all, as your role is to educate the county council on policies to make St. Louis County an age-friendly county. This would definitely do that, as you know. And so we appreciate the relationship that, because we can educate the council, but when it comes to giving advice on whether this would be good or not, that's where you all come in. And so we appreciate the relationship we have with you all in meeting with the council members. We have a meeting today with Councilwoman Gretchen Bangert. She will be telling us when she plans to introduce the legislation. We are now setting up meetings with the council, other council members, to do one last education push. So they have any other questions, and would love for you to partner with us on those meetings and to get a sense of where they stand on the issue. So we have a meeting next Wednesday with Councilwoman Webb at 11 o'clock. Unfortunately, our friend Cookie is finally able to take a vacation. She hasn't been able to take in 17 years. Would love to have someone else attend with us at that meeting. It's remote. It's not in person. It's at 11 o'clock.
That's next Wednesday, January 14th.
Correct.
If you know, you do, okay.
We have, Dan will be attending a meeting with me with Councilwoman Lisa Clancy on the 20th in person. And thank you, Liz, I know, for being available. Thank you both for stepping up, for Bridget and I to be with us. Mike Nickel, we're going to be sending, Mike Nickel has been in conversation, as has Susan Schaefer, with Councilman Bangert, thanking her, answering questions. The only other meeting that we still need to set up, and we've been in conversation, is with Councilwoman Days. We have met with her in the past. She seems supportive. And so we're hoping that once we get a date for that meeting, someone from the
I
council.
think Lillian emailed me yesterday that she could participate, so
Okay.
just, you have her email address.
Yes, perfect, thank you. Just so you know, my internet was down. My husband changed our internet company, so I'm a little behind my emails. Trying to save $25 about stuff. Oh, retirees. So anyway, things are going well. We've almost, like I said, we have many foundations now that are on board with our educational budget, and we've just started raising our Get Out the Vote campaigns. Thank you very much, Christine Husted, Aging Ahead, for your support. So anyway, things are looking well. Bridget, is there anything else that I neglected to mention?
The other thing that we are actually searching for is to get older adults with their lived experiences to give us education and guidance around the campaign as we move forward, to make sure that their story is being told in a manner that is relevant, that is really hitting the points that we need to. So what we have here is there is a volunteer role here, and depending on the funding, we might be able to offer a stipend of up to $1,000, but that is contingent on funding. We're looking for a group of about 10 people that aren't willing to give their feedback and give their perspective to us. It involves attending one monthly meeting, a brief training, and then also just doing outreach events, whether it's a big speaking event if that's their thing, or if it's even just going to a restaurant and catching up with friends and educating them about the campaign.
So are you looking for us to recommend those
Yes.
individuals?
We are looking, since it is such a tight timeline, if you have someone that is in your district that you think would be a good fit for that, please let us know.
And Christine, thank you too, because Christine also connected us with Jan Keith, and we have silver-haired legislators from Aging Ahead who are interested. And Sharon, thank you for helping us get connected with people as well. So we appreciate all of your support as we move forward.
Question, Bridget, do you want us to approach the people or do you just want names?
What do you,
I think if you have a close relationship with them and can approach them first and then do a form handoff, that would be great. If it's just someone that you think, well, you know, it doesn't matter whether I approach him or you and you all approach him, when we can use your name, whatever you feel more comfortable with.
Do you want these individuals from diverse county council districts, or, I mean, I think
So-
it would be beneficial to have people
Yes,
from all areas of the county.
exactly. So our original goal was we were thinking 7 for each of the council districts, but then we were afraid that we would pigeonhole ourselves a bit too much with just one person from each of those district lines. So that's why we're looking for up to 10 as well right now. But yes, from different areas, different backgrounds, different experiences.
Do you have an area that you're particularly weak in?
Well, right now, we're just getting started on this process. The reason we haven't moved forward with this is we've been working more about just making sure that it moves forward and on the ballot. So now we're at a point where we can kind of start working on the education campaign deliverables for our grants.
Well, after the meeting, I have a couple names for you.
Wonderful.
Perfect. Any other questions about the initiative that we can answer so that we can let you get on to your meeting?
Do you know any council members who are officially opposed to this initiative?
The only council member that is semi-opposed is Councilman Hancock. He is, he believes that the county has plenty of money and can provide funding for services for older adults and that we do not need to have another tax increase. So
How
other,
many services have just been cut in the most
Yeah, I
recent
was about to
budget?
say.
Yeah, it's an interesting position.
we've met with him in community and it's not that he's not supportive of older adults. He understands it. He just doesn't believe that we need another tax to bring in funding for services. So other than that, when we met with the other council members, they were very concerned with the budget last year and unable to really commit one way or the other, but all were very welcoming to us. They listened, they understood, they hear the needs of older adults in their community. And so they had just simply asked us if we could wait until the new year where they could focus on this, give their complete attention.
And you generously provided these two documents that I've shared with the people here, and I will send them to those who join us virtually. One is about the Seniors County Advisory Group member that Bridget was talking about. The other document is really kind of talking points on the seniors count, why it's important, what it is, and it's helpful to review that before you meet with the council members. So it's a really nice summary of what we're trying to accomplish.
Do we have these both electronically?
I will send them to everyone.
I want to send them to the people I'm thinking about for your advisory committee.
Ian, which do you want us to just email out to the entire?
If you have it, that would be
I
great.
don't know if I have every, but I know I have yours.
I will send you, I will make sure that you have everybody's email address.
Yeah, if you do that, we'd be happy just to send information to you directly, because actually we're going to be starting to send out more monthly updates to everyone because things I think will start progressing very quickly. We want everyone to know what's going on.
I think that'd be really helpful, because one of the things that I know we can do is build on that with emails and phone calls to the various council people. Say, you know, they not have realized, but this is how this is going.
If this does move forward, I'm glad you brought that up, Liz. If this does move forward, I do believe Councilwoman Banger, today at 1 o'clock, we meet with her. We'll get a date for when she plans to introduce it. I think it's going to be sooner than later. And so with that, it could be as soon as the end of January. We would love to have you all there at the 3 readings. To show support in the front row. And we have many people in the community who are wanting to fill the room. So we would love for you all to be around other people who are supporting this work along with.
When is that?
We don't know the date yet.
Can you let us know? And do you want us to spread the word like you want more people?
If you can, that would be wonderful.
Attend those meetings, yeah. I do have one question about, there was a tidbit in this document, this summary, that was new to me, which was a senior levy fund would not be added to the tax bills of those who currently have their property taxes frozen. It's in the, under advantages of the senior services fund, the 4th bullet down. Who currently have their property taxes frozen with the St. Louis County Senior Property Tax Freeze. Doesn't that present kind of a messaging problem?
That's what we're going to be addressing. Yes, yes.
And is it true that you
Yes.
have a legal determination of that?
I don't have the official legal determination, but from the way that it is written, I talked to one of the people who helped write it and the intentions of it getting implemented in St. Louis County. And the intention of the senior property tax freeze is to just freeze it. So no new additions so if like even if a jurisdiction in your district chooses to raise the taxes, your tax bill is still frozen. So if there's something new added to it,
So that's true with school bills as well?
yes.
So has an independent attorney come up with the same conclusion?
Not the same conclusion.
So that's concern. I know that the person who authored it feels that way.
Let me step back. A independent attorney that looked at the law when it was being introduced at the state level said that counties cannot impact other political subdivisions or other jurisdictions with the funding. And so it will take someone like a school district or some organization to sue the county because those things were voted on by the people and they're not controlled by the county, is what this particular lawyer said. However, no litigation has been put forward.
So is it,
So
what work does it do to have it in a document like this that says it?
well, we do know that that's how things are working in the county currently. And so we know, and we get questions on that. And so we want you all to be prepared if you do get a question on it. We are also going to be working on messaging, Carol and I talked very, and Bridget about this and Nancy as well. And we will be meeting with a group to help us with the language so that this is very clear to people. It's a very complicated, it's very different than 2016. Things are very different. And so it's much more complicated. So we want to make sure that we're very clear to people so that when they're voting, they understand what they're voting for.
So, I mean, my concern is that if we're trying to generate support for this, if the public hears, oh, we just gave you this huge gift of your taxes are frozen. And by the way, we now want you to vote for new taxes that you won't have to pay for. It's a terrible message.
I think one of the things that, we always try to remind people of is when you look at your tax bill, the biggest portion of your tax bill is your school district. And older adults will still be paying that amount and have been supporting kids, whether they have children or not. So older adults are supporting children, they are supporting the library, it's just that it's not going to keep increasing more and more and more.
And I think adding to what Jamie is saying, I think another point we can make is that the older adult population dies. So, the idea that there's going to be no turnover is also incorrect. In that, so if my property is frozen and my taxes are frozen and I pass away, my house goes on the market and the taxes go back up, and that really, that invigorates changes the tax rate.
But the pipeline is also being fed by people who turn whatever the age is, 62 or whatever the age is, that you qualify for the freeze. So it's a constant flow. And
There's an income qualification too on the freeze.
No.
oh,
It's just 62.
yes,
And that's the other piece is when we were communicating about that bill, we basically said, we think this is good, but we think there should be a cap. I remember Carol's talking a lot about that, and they chose not to go that route.
But Dan, what's the alternative? I mean, I'm saying, how would you have the freeze and have the levy fund for this group of people to 62 pluses?
well, if in fact it's going to take litigation to resolve this, and if in fact it really isn't resolved yet, it doesn't matter really what the intentions were of the person who authored the bill. What matters, and that's the attorneys in the room, what matters are the words on the page. And the words on the page get adjudicated when there's a lawsuit and a judge has to interpret those words on the page, not what somebody was thinking and maybe didn't write down properly, you confuse people. So, I mean, I would advocate for removing that sentence from the document, because if in fact it's got to be litigated to really be resolved, why are we saying it?
Because it's the way it works right now.
I think that there will be questions about it when people go out and are doing educational events. I have two other questions. One is, this will directly impact how much money. I mean, we talked about St. Louis County could make,
Yeah, right.
I don't remember,
15, yeah.
up to 15 million. This will impact the amount that the county can make.
So
Has that been considered in this estimate of how much it'll make?
So that
not
probably
yet.
needs to be adjusted.
Right, that does need to be adjusted. We did speak with the executive director for the Productive Living Board. It's also the same situation, tax, property tax. Their funding has gone down a few $1 million. Their property tax is much larger than this. But they feel like it's not going to impact them as much as they're still trying to, they don't think it'll be a huge impact
Yeah.
on their budget.
I mean, doing the math in my head, if roughly 1 in 4 people in the county are 60 or older, let's say somewhere between 20 and roughly 20% are 65 and older, somewhere between 20 and 25% of that 15 million won't be collected. Is that a reasonable assumption?
So
So it could be $3 or
but
$4
you-
million less.
it could be, yeah, it could be. And you have to remember, it's not just individual properties, but it's businesses. It's, I mean, most of the money that we had from the city senior fund, the bulk of it was really more the businesses and not individuals.
That's interesting. Okay, so we.
Can I ask a
What
question?
percentage of, Lisa Hotley, do you have a point?
I had a question, my hand's up. I don't think anybody's monitoring hand up.
I'm sorry. I
on the
shouldn't do
electronic-
it.
That's okay. When you're talking about this legislation being excluded from those who receive the freeze, is that true is that true of the freeze itself, that all new legislation is excluded unless voted otherwise? So isn't this standard that it's excluded unless voted differently?
I don't really understand, Lisa. Could you say that again?
I'm looking at, so if this, if we introduce this legislation, excuse me, and it's exempt or it's excluded from those who have qualified for the tax freeze. I thought when the freeze educational pieces came out, that that was true of all new legislation, that it would have to be vetted so that you couldn't introduce a bunch of new tax measures and automatically be included. I was under the impression that you would automatically be excluded unless it was specifically voted on that the tax measure would apply to those who have the freeze. So in other words, is it standard that if this passes, that is this what's happening elsewhere around the country, that if this passes, it's excluded from those who qualify for freezes and those who qualify for any kind of assistance? Is that standard language, or is this sort of an anomaly sentence in this educational material? Is that making sense? I feel like this is true of any new tax that's going to be introduced in the coming years, that it'll have to be debated whether or not those that have successfully applied for the freeze, that they would not be included, that you would have to have specific language that says, here's a new sales, here's a new property tax for children, and therefore, but you don't have to be concerned about this if you have a freeze. So I wasn't sure what standard fare. If we're waiting for a lawsuit could be 10 years down the road. So I'd hate to leave out this piece of education if it really helps clarify for people that you're safe and that you're not going to be paying these taxes when you're already in an income bracket. So I guess I'm questioning, is this normal language, or is this unusual to have this exclusion?
I think this whole policy across the state is a complete mess.
And is that because?
If you want my professional opinion.
Is that because there's no cap on anything?
And because each county's different.
Yeah, each county's different.
And
Yeah.
so, and it was done so quickly at the state level, and counties, I mean, the concern that I have is that when meeting with the assessor for the St. Louis City, there's decisions that are being made with not a lot of background information on the impact of the law. And so I just have I think it's going to be causing a lot of problems. That's just me. But until, like you said, Lisa, until someone litigates it, I mean, this is the law.
So Jane, what about the claim that I know is already circulating, that the freeze is going to have a very negative impact on the schools?
So our understanding of that is they're projecting forward because the freeze just went into effect.
Right.
And so they're projecting on what potentially they're losing moving forward.
So we're both are arguing the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, and none of this is concrete dated, the numbers for today. Right. These are, if we go and do this in the future, then this whole cohort of individuals who are over 62 will be exempt from that increase, whether it be support the school or support senior fund or anything.
And so our messaging could be around that, as much as we support the idea. I mean, our polling has shown that we did, and again, this was 2024 polling that got us moving in this direction, is that people are concerned about older adults becoming unhoused. and not being able to afford their property taxes. That is a real concern. We all in this room have that concern. But the law that was passed with the senior tax freeze, it's including everyone in that group. And so it's not very helpful to other types of programs and services that depend on property taxes for everyone to be included in that group. And we have seen through the data that the majority of people that are taking advantage of the senior property tax freeze are people who can afford to pay their property taxes. So I think we need to be able to take all of these things that we're talking about and develop some very clear messaging for our community. We are supportive of older adults. We don't want them to lose their housing because they can't afford a property tax. But at the same time, we don't want to see schools impacted negatively. We don't want to see other programs and services impacted negatively because of this particular law that was passed for a senior tax freeze.
One thing that might be really helpful for all of us to kind of support the messaging is what you were saying about all of the individuals paying the school board, the school taxes up until the freeze. If we could then say, okay, so we're going to still be paying that amount. So the number that is going to change will be the 1 or 2 cent or 5 cent tax increase that is proposed for later. That doesn't mean that these individuals 62 and over are not contributing to the school board. They're just not contributing that increase.
Right. And that's why we want to bring in someone who can help us with all the things that you're talking about and try to present it clearly and not to raise a lot of alarm.
Another part of this that people are beginning to realize, they think, because everybody had a misconception about what the freeze would do for them, they thought they were going to save tons of money, and it's not tons of money. It's just a small percentage of the small percentage of growth that you see every year. So if your house appreciates 3 or 4% a year, it's a tiny amount. So if you start with a $200,000 house and you're paying $19, let's round it up to $20, and you appreciate, your house value doubles. Instead of paying $20 a year, you pay $40 a year.
Those are the kind of numbers I really want to be able to have, because if I'm paying property taxes on $1,000, but the part that's frozen is $50. Those are the kind of, I think those are the numbers that would be really beneficial.
And that's what you need to tell the school. That's the
Yes.
counter argument to the schools is nobody's taking money from schools. Like, money is going to still stay there. It's the projected money that it might not be quite as big a projection, but it's no different than if you take it to your own, older adults are supposed, everyone's expecting an increase in Social Security. Well, what if that doesn't happen? Well, then you deal with it, right? And so that's what, it's like, it's a practical issue. And schools are feeding into that, like, oh, we're gonna lose all this money. Not losing anything. You may not be gaining as much. I think those are important ways to.
If the expenses go up and revenues don't go up, you're losing something. So
Well, but that's not any different than anybody else's situation. I mean, it's a business.
it's
Projects, revenue from exports is going to go up, but it doesn't. So then you deal with it.
And the school districts could also then go and say, instead of them raising the school project thing by
Right.
1%, we'll do 1.5%.
I mean, it almost feels as if the people that were support, I'm sorry, I didn't, that cookie, I'm sorry.
I was just going back to the unhoused. How much would it cost to keep the unhoused?
It's a really
Does
good
that
point.
count into this somewhere?
Yes. Yes, if you can help, if you're helping support people stay in their homes, you're saving public dollars. It's much more costly to find public housing
And especially on house, like there isn't any kind of specialized shelter for people that are older that have, say,
No, there is
there's
not.
very few across the country. There's none in Missouri that I'm aware of, and they're expensive to build.
Well, I mean, you basically have
Now,
to do
there's just not anything.
low-income housing tax credit projects, applied to, you know,
Quality living to me, if you
projects.
keep them, if you students to really stay in their homes.
Right.
Putting them in an unhoused situation doesn't seem like quality living to me.
It seems that and I think you started to say this earlier, that once people start asking, but wait a minute, we just passed this tax freeze and it's now you're gonna hit us twice. I mean, I think one of the answers is we opposed the current tax freeze for
Right,
this very reason.
right.
We did not want somebody who owned a $5 million house, whose house is appreciating 10% a year, to not have to pay more taxes to support this sort of thing. The people that have a $200,000 house, they're not getting a lot of gain from the freeze, and they're not spending a lot of money on the senior tax levy.
I agree with you, Dan. I think you need to point out exactly why that is not a good piece of legislation.
Yeah.
Well,
And
they-
Go ahead.
My question then is, for messaging purposes, I mean, obviously, we've got a bunch of stakeholders that are going to have different messages, but two comments. One is that by November of 26, we might not be talking about the freeze at the same level that we're talking right now. And then my other piece is that my personal concern is that it sounds a little disingenuous to have this conversation while I qualified for a tax freeze and I'm telling people that, you know, we need more money. Because we didn't have that cap, that either property value cap or that income cap, it doesn't see, it's creating a more difficult path for the message for this for seniors count. So taking that leap from everybody, you know, every older adult has a tax break to now we're concerned about the unhoused, that's a really different message. And so I think that's my concern, is how do we talk about it and fair and address, yeah, we have an issue with the tax freeze not having a salary cap or an income cap. But that's the messaging part as we segment that message, I think, is how do we make sure that we don't, you know, that we are able to speak honestly about this, because we
Well, Lisa,
also.
I think we can, as a commission, because we're on public record in supporting means testing and in being opposed to the current legislation. You know, Carol spoke quite eloquently about it, and many other people who, in their confirmation hearings, were in front of the county council, were asked before this became law, were asked about it, and we were consistently opposed to the current wording because we thought that it should benefit the people that need it and not the people that don't need it.
I think we could also point out that we advocated for circuit breaker changes. And that circuit breaker changes did occur at the state level last year. I mean,
Double-edged sword.
I don't think we can exactly take full credit for that. I don't know where we were. But the fact that addressing to Cookie's point, you know, about helping individuals that are really living on the edge in terms of, are my property taxes going to force me out of living in my home? And circuit breaker really does, you know, as we collectively discussed, does a better job of helping individuals in that situation than this property tax freeze, which, you know, to Jamie's statement earlier, wealthy individuals have taken greater advantage of than those that probably needed it the most.
One of the biggest challenges is that to get the tax freeze, you have to have the right documents. And if you don't have them, you have to make a trip to the county office and you have to stand in line.
Very arduous.
And if you don't have means, it's really hard to do that. So a lot of people who would benefit from it weren't able to fill out the applications properly.
Yeah, it would be very interesting data. I think our commission would benefit from hearing from, who would get that data? The,
People get advised.
no, the state auditors. I mean, they should be able to do an analysis of who applied for this. I mean, there is an analysis by zip code, but is there analysis by income
They
as
don't have,
well? They should have that.
they don't have people's, because we asked, they don't have, they know the, like, how much the house, the property is valued at, they don't know the income of the people living. They don't have that.
But I think just by the value of the house would be
More information than we have now.
exactly, and
So then-
how many people with homes over 500,000 actually took advantage of the tax, as opposed to how many people who need it.
And you have to look at, you're only looking at people to become a house who own their own home. There's a whole bunch of renters out there.
Right.
Also at risk, and all the property tax freeze did for those folks is make their rent go up. Because the landlords rent, the property tax went up, so what are they gonna do? They're gonna pass it on to the people that are renting. And so, whereas the seniors count would definitely address those folks also who are renting, they're also in risk of losing their house.
That's kind of one of the points that I think we really need to make a big part of our messaging is the senior, the tax freeze was a freeze at that level. So that there were a lot of individuals who took advantage of it, whose $1 million homes were going to be frozen at $1 million. That still doesn't mean that they're not contributing significantly to the community through the taxes that they're paying. One, and two, exactly as Susan's point, which is that there's a group of individuals in our community who don't own their homes, who are in need of support. And those are the people that this particular tax senior account is trying to address, is renters, is, so I think one of the things we can get bogged down in is this idea, back to what you said, Dan, that this was going to be a large amount of money. That every individual who owns $1 million home was going to have a huge break in their tax rate. So I think we need to have that $1 million home number of how much their tax is now and how that tax will continue until the person passes away. And so that we can kind of educate not only ourselves, but also the community that the tax freeze is helpful for those who took advantage of it, but it isn't going to be as big a change.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is appropriate for the council, but as we engage with a firm to help us with the messaging, which would the council be available and able to participate in discussion with the firm to talk about the issues that you presented today?
We could invite them to one of our meetings.
Absolutely.
And have a discussion, question and answer.
And then
Be helpful.
it would be very helpful because everyone's bringing in such great points. And I want to make sure that we're taking notes, but I want to make sure that everything is being addressed because that's the diversity of a room of very smart people. But also then, once they develop the messaging, could we come back and present it and get kind of.
I like that. I think that's a great idea. And one other thing, as we look at each council person, when we talk about that $500,000 house, I can tell you that in Kirkwood, which is District 3, Councilman Hancock's district, a $500,000 house is a tear down. It's it might be a 2-bedroom bungalow that sits on a valuable lot and it's being bulldozed. So there is this perception that someone who owns a $500,000 house is a millionaire. And in some municipalities, for some council people, they'll understand better than others what that looks like. And I think that's part of our job, is to help each council person see that, what that legislation means for their residents.
Okay.
I just want, you know, with the senior tax, most of the seniors where I live, or my seniors are probably, they were confused on the tax. They thought that meant that they were not gonna be paying tax. Bunch of, so that's why they went. I don't think you're gonna have that the next go round. Obviously, we should consider that, because I hear the comments, you know, it's not worth me standing in line or me doing, although they also say that they won't have to do all of those things again. But that's also gonna be a memory in their head where they did. Someone got $15. Just, it cost them more than that in time to get there than for a whole year. So the first thing was the confusion of it. That's not gonna be there. They will get.
Yeah.
They will get that part.
Switching something that I heard that might be important, part, you say businesses is the most people that contribute to the 12 to 17 million?
Well, in the city, the businesses, the companies, we also have personal property, real estate,
That would control in the county, because that's important, not individuals, it's companies, it's businesses, it's all the businesses in the county, the humongous businesses.
because we did,
If we knew that number, that would help.
yeah. So the city, when the city passed their property tax freeze, it's very different than the counties. They did not impose the freeze on the senior levy fund in the city, or any libraries, or any of the other political subdivisions. The only tax that was impacted was money that was going to the city directly for the city functions. They did it according to the law. Of the way that the lawyer that we spoke with interprets law, because they don't have any jurisdiction over those other political subdivisions. So now our legislators of the state are wanting to change the senior property tax freeze and make changes to it to make it even more onerous. So we need to be watching this year as to what they're planning to do with the senior property tax freeze.
Are you aware of any litigation? I mean, there was a lot of conversation about there would be litigation. Are you aware of any? Because and also, Missouri Budget Project, they looked at this question. And I thought having an attorney look at the question.
That's who
as
I'm,
well.
that's the attorney, that attorney is the information, that's what I'm using. My information is from their attorney.
And you shared that information with us, and we then shared it with Lisa Clancy and said, you know, we're again coming up with a different interpretation. Can you confirm this for us? I mean, I remember we had that back and forth with Craig from her office.
Yeah.
And I think the conclusion was exactly what you said. It's got to be litigated before this gets resolved.
Yeah. It was just a huge question mark.
Yeah.
So.
I think another important point is who's gonna receive benefits of the senior fund money. It's not the millionaires, you know, that's targeted money. This other one's universal, the freeze, this is very targeted. And who's helping with the freeze is also who's helping there, and they both need it.
And is there gonna be an income?
Well, I think that's why this is going to be a bipartisan piece of legislation, because I think people realize where they live. I mean, we've had meetings in Christine's facility on off of Lee, which was very well attended, and that's in Councilman Archer's district. And so I think that's why he gets it. I mean, it's extremely impactful.
That's why this advisory committee might be important, because you're wanting people who would benefit from tax and who know how much they're not saving, or the break from the freeze isn't that much.
Right,
You know, their story could have both of those things in it.
exactly. Having the stories of the people from your district is going to be very helpful for communicating even this complex
Yeah,
message.
just an example, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you couldn't afford $2,000 in real estate taxes last year, you can't afford them this year either. So it's,
Yeah.
you have froze it, sure, so it just means what you can't, you can afford it less than you did a year ago, I mean, you
Yeah.
just can't afford it.
Those stories.
Yeah, I think the stories are going to be, I think that's something that we need to be a part of the messaging is the story about the $5 million house that is had the tax free. Who is that individual? Is that individual somebody who has been contributing for 85 years to the community at a higher level to the schools and now has, 5-year, 10-year break at getting an increase, not, that.
The stories that I heard was, and then Sharon, I'm so sorry, go ahead. The stories that I heard was of an older woman or older man who had to go back, their house was assessed much higher from the previous year. They didn't have then the money to cover the huge increase in their taxes. And the reason that it increased so much was because somebody on their street got a new kitchen or updated their house. And so they had to prove that their house had not had any changes and so forth. But what I've learned is that the controlling the taxes that we pay is taken care of on the government side with the Hancock Amendment. You cannot increase, like for the St. Louis City Senior Fund, our tax was 5 cents on $100 of assessed valuation. When the assessor, and we had to set that every 2 years, and when the assessor was identifying that the funding coming in for us was going to be more than the cost of living increase, we had to reduce our tax from 5 cents to 4.92 cents. And so we could never bring in more than the cost of living in taxes, and that's for any of the political subdivisions. However, on the free market side, thank you. They can, there is no control. I mean, houses keep going up and up and up. And because there's people are willing to even forego having their houses inspected when they're buying houses, they're willing to pay anything to get into a house. And so so to me, coming up with these laws, again, this isn't Jamie Hupsel's opinion, coming up with these laws to control something that's not out of control. We already have a law in place, the Hancock Amendment. It's the free market side that's out of control, but we live in a country where we don't want to control that.
Any other questions?
Are all the houses assessed at the same time? Whether it's 5 million on that percentage rate?
It's all at
All
19%. Yes,
The tax rate remains the same for any house.
What is the?
19%. So you pay, you're only taxed on 19% of the value of the home, not the full amount.
Depending on where you live, there might be different taxing jurisdictions in place. So
Right.
like your taxes in the Ladue School District might be a higher percentage than, say, the Afton School District. But you're like taxed on the same amount, but your taxes could be, was very confusing.
This whole subject is.
Yeah.
You have,
You're taxed on the same amount, but depending on where you're living, depends on what is taxes are paid.
your property tax is at 19%. And your real estate, your real estate is 19%, your personal property is percentage.
But it's the percentage of the assessed value, and it's not the actual value of your home. You're not for, if you have a $200,000 house, it's not 19% of $200,000.
It's not 5 cents on 2 million.
Well, we're talking about two different things. We're talking
Yeah.
about the property tax, and we're also talking about the senior tax levy. So you're asking about the property tax, right?
The real estate property part.
We have a real good slide that shows this, because this was the big thing that we had last time, that people thought that people don't understand how their taxes work. They just get a bill. And so when you look at that home, you're, like we say, it's 5 cents on each $100 of assessed valuation. And
Is
so,
that true?
yes, that's true. So it's, the senior levy is 5 cents on every $100 of assessed valuation. You're assessed on 19% of the total value of your home, not the full 200,000 if your home is worth 200,000.
And then my next one is, those seniors pay almost into everything. I've been sitting here rolling my head back thinking, what tax is it that they don't pay?
You're absolutely right. They have the library district, they have, you know, the school district, they have the zoo, special tax, the ambulance. I mean, so we actually have a really good slide that shows that too, that's all the different taxes that are paid.
So as a community and the people are getting older, right? Even the people who, if they see that this is happening with the seniors, don't they have something to say about that too? The seniors themselves?
They should. That's why we want to have this we want to have this advisory group so that older adults can voice their concerns.
Well, I'm just trying to make it make sense. Say everybody in this room would be a senior. We all paying everything. So now it is our turn when we need some help. We should not have a fund for us.
Nobody likes to think they're getting 20 years older.
And you know what?
That's the thing.
That's what I said. So I go back to my history lessons. After World War II, we decided as the United States that we needed to invest in public education for schools. And then we started as a community putting money into schools. The way it's set up is, I don't think of it this way, but basically we support public education, right? Because we're all most of us are baby boomers. So after World War II, people started having all these babies, right? And so we know we needed to support education, public education. These baby boomers have now grown up and now we're older.
And we're still paying it.
And we're still paying them.
Because they asked me, that's why I'm asking myself stupid.
No, it's not.
But they asked me, well, where are the senior tax freeze? I didn't work this out. I only go when people ask me questions, because that's what we're supposed to, I think, be able to, why are they paying taxes? They don't have no kid in school.
Right.
I've been educating on, well, it's a pay it forward, go forward situation. Or you want your children to be educated.
Right.
I'm not against that.
Right.
But I'm against the part where you can't get nothing back, no matter what you keep paying. You got all these things paying this stuff.
Well, that supports Social Security and Medicare, those kids working and getting educated. That's who's paying for my Social Security right now.
Right.
Would you like to have an educated doctors, teachers, an educated population?
That, one of the other things that Jamie mentioned was the House getting the large increase in their property valuation because of the neighborhood being upgraded. Personally, that happened to me. And I went and wrote up a whole thing about why my house shouldn't be, equated to the other houses that were brand new in the neighborhood. And the assessor did change the valuation. So.
But that takes time.
Yeah, well, it takes time. Well, I think this is.
And the information, they have to know that they can do.
This is the point, is I think one of the jobs that, one of the jobs that I think we need to do, and you can argue in support of the senior fund, is that would enable us there would be money to get out to the seniors that need that kind of help, to get them to be able to have that, because right now it's up to them to do it. But if you had a senior fund, then you could have the funds available to support educating people.
On that point, is Legal Services of Eastern Missouri a recipient of grant money from the senior fund in the city?
Yes. In fact, we were able to
Yeah. Who's doing that kind of work?
not only legal, but we were able to bring in a social worker to us to work with the team of lawyers to be able to be out in the community, in the city, assisting people with issues.
So if somebody wrote a grant that was specifically for
They will.
aiding individuals in kind of navigating through all of this legal stuff, or tax stuff, that money could be coming out of the senior fund.
Well, yeah, and
Pay for that.
I think there's a big misconception that you talk about the senior fund, but what is that? Like, people they're not aware, like, how is someone going to access that money? Like, you're not gonna go apply to the senior fund and go, hey, I need some money for my group. You know, you're not gonna do that. It's gonna channel through agencies that are equipped to address those needs of people.
Well, you have a model with the city.
Yes.
So you know exactly how it works in the city. You know how it works in 56 other counties.
But I think that's a question that when you go out into the community and give presentations, because I think one of the big problems, having lived it, with the senior tax freeze was the messaging from the day one was just a train wreck. Like, no one knew what was going on. I didn't know half the time what was going on because there was this and that and all of this, and then the state made the bill and then nothing was done on for a year, and then they changed the bill, and then, you know, all this stuff. And so Cookie's absolutely right. People felt that they were senior tax freeze. I don't have to pay taxes anymore.
Yeah.
It's totally correct.
I
But
think-
that's the message.
I think Susan's point is really important here. Funds would be distributed via grants to help older citizens stay in their homes. That sounds like, oh boy, I'll apply and get a grant. I think we've got to be trusted organizations, like who's done in the city.
That's a good idea. Okay, so we'll change that wording.
Yeah, I think funding agencies or funding programs that can get it, you know, you've gotta.
I like
Convey that
trusted
message.
organizations. I think
Yeah.
that's something that people,
Delivering.
yeah,
Transportation.
because we keep in language sometimes that isn't appropriate for just everybody.
Yeah, and I did used to get these calls at the senior fund. I need a grant because I need to pay my checks at my house.
Yeah.
So I bring up a very good point.
Yeah.
It's good.
We will let you get back to.
All right, so are there any other questions related to this agenda item? If not-
You're gonna send us these and you're gonna
Yes,
give me a Zoom link for next, for Wednesday, and that's
Thank
with,
you.
Councilperson Webb.
Correct.
and you're welcome to stay. The next, we thank you for your time, thank you for this really informative presentation. The next agenda item is Missouri Master Plan on Aging update, so I don't know if you're interested in that.
We are, but we have another meeting.
Okay.
One other request, could you send that really cool diagram when you send out the one with this goes to education, this goes to fire
Yeah,
protection,
yeah.
this goes to, it's just, I'm a visual person.
Yeah, I am too. We'll send the house one and that one. And we'll make the updates on this and send that out to you all. Thank you all for
Thank
your
you.
partnership with us. We really do appreciate this.
Thank you.
So you would not be able to, you could still be on the advisory, but you would not be able to advise community members about the senior tax. Right?
Yeah, we can't go out to the public, we can't put our names on mailings that are supportive of a specific initiative.
Yeah, out of the committee, I'm, no.
If you're serving on that, would be.
We're all serving on a lot of different things. So, you know, and that's a good thing. That's how we inform this commission.
So I can get information.
And then, yeah, so that's, the next agenda item will speak to that, because we're,
But
Thank
that
you for
wasn't a
coming.
direct person, what I was asking Jamie, and I spoke with Jamie yesterday, whenever it was, she had asked me about becoming an advisor. I'm asking if I did that on that side, would it infect, have any bearing on this side?
I don't know.
You have to ask the legal person.
You can.
I thought it was
And I'm
under.
good, and
I
I'm
would
nice.
be speaking as Cookie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
individuals, yeah.
Or you could
not
speak in another role as well. It was just you could not speak as the Older Adult Commission. I think it was, you could speak in any other capacity in any other role, and you could also speak as yourself, but you cannot speak as an older adult commissioner advises you to do this. That was my interpretation of it. And
Advisory of whatever that committee would be.
We're gonna have some clarity on this in closed session.
I'm gonna keep it strong.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all
Thank
very
you.
much.
thanks, Jamie.
Thank you, girls.
Good luck.
Thank you.
So the next agenda item is Missouri Master Plan on Aging updates, and I do have an update. Many of you who participated in the writing of the Master Plan on Aging received an email from Mindy Olfed this week. We are proud to announce that the Missouri Master Plan on Aging, Missourians Aging with Dignity, has been submitted to the governor per the executive order. We now begin the implementing recommendations outlined in the plan. You can find a copy of the plan in the updated website, and I can forward this to everyone. But we are being asked, those that participated and even those that didn't, in the Master Plan on Aging document that was approved, they're implementing that now, and we've been asked to join subcommittees to help that implementation phase. So I'm gonna participate in the Housing and Aging in Place subcommittee, which is what I was involved in before. But the subcommittees are daily life and employment, family caregiving, housing and aging in place, long-term services and supports, transportation and mobility, safety and security, and whole person health. And I encourage all of you, I'll forward this email to volunteer for this to help implementation.
And question,
Yes.
I'm on the daily life and employment. And I had her ask from Provident, from Kevin Dollinger, Provident, which committee he should be on. Where's mental health? That's hard. It's kind of varied.
Well, there's whole person
That's what I
health.
told him, whole health. It's not like center stage there at all, but I think that's the
I
best
think
fit for
whole
the
person
mental
health
health.
would be, yeah.
Okay,
And raising the whole issue of mental health.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's part of whole.
Yes, the education, exactly.
Thanks.
Okay, I don't know if anyone else has any updates on Missouri Master Plan on Aging. Universal Design, there's an update. Carol and I have been asked to meet with the Commission on Disabilities. We're having a short meeting this month to talk about how to kind of catalyze a little bit better movement on this. So we're going to strategize on that, I think next week. Is it next week? Soon. Yeah, we talked about this at our last meeting, was it's kind of stalled. Updates on the St. Louis County Home Improvement Program. I don't know if there are any updates from anyone here.
You know, workforce has gone back to the state, like the county is not
Well,
workforce anymore.
I knew that the person that was the manager of workforce is no longer there, and then I never heard
They're
who
not,
replaced him.
well, I take that
It was
back, there are
Greg
a couple
Laposa.
of people that are still there for the next few months, but they're gone. The state took it back as of December 3rd, or January 1st. Which is odd, because that's not their fiscal year, so I'm not sure, I don't know the details of it.
Is that part of the budget exercise?
That's my guess.
No?
No, but it is.
Okay, Elder Protection Coalition, Broadband Initiative, any updates?
The only update I have on is really the Elder Protection Coalition just seems to be not doing very much, but I did have a meeting on the broadband a little bit, which is that I just had, it was a holiday gathering, and I learned that AT&T, all of the AT&T in particular, they're trying to get rid of all the landlines, which is a big issue for a lot of individuals. And that is because of Coppertown. It is they are just, and they can't see, they were saying, when you go to all these salvage yards, and there's all this AT&T copper there, and they're saying, oh, we're not buying anything.
So it's a real problem. So they decided to try to incentivize everybody to get rid of their landlines. And so getting the word out, particularly in communities like yours, that this is beneficial. And there's a reason for it. Is
They can't repair them anymore.
No.
Don't need to keep.
They can't repair them.
They have the material.
no. So, so that's just one thing that I did not know. Landlines are a problem.
And overhead lines, I'm assuming, are the ones that are getting stolen.
You know, it's
'Cause
just,
you have to dig up the underground.
yeah, I know. But, and so, and in addition is, as Joma was saying, it means that it's not reliable. So this idea that you want your landline because you don't want to lose contact, that we need to get the word out that that's no longer the case.
Yeah, they kind of phase them in, but you still can have a phone. But it's like another,
It's solid.
yeah, but they already done that, but.
And the other updates on property tax relief? I think we've talked enough about taxes today. Corp and aging ahead updates, haven't anything. Mission on disabilities, we invited Sue, I don't think she responded, so Sue Orton is not here, so we don't have any updates. I think we need to take a vote on going into closed session. Does anyone want to?
Make a motion, we go into closed session.
Second, all in favor?
I think we have.
Aye.
Roll call to go into closed session?
If we could also throw in, the magic language that we are under section 610.21 Missouri revised statutes, because that creates a record that we are doing the closed session for the purpose of legal advice, so that if we want to see it down the line.
So the official motion is the commission, the motion is to go into closed session pursuant to section 610.021.
Yes, you've got it in your agenda.
Yes.
In a moment.
And section 114.020.
Welcome to add that.
Okay. All in favor?
We have to go around here to
Okay,
do.
Carol.
Carol, yes.
Nancy, yes.
Okay.
I'm a yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Wayne? You might be on mute. Are you a yes? Just raise your hand if you're a yes. Okay. Lisa?
Yes.
Steve? Lillian?
Just got here.
Dan, yeah?
Doing this.
Clear, yeah. It's unanimous. Okay. Okay, so we requested legal interpretation of what our roles would be regarding communicating with the public, and we got legal opinion. And I'd like to introduce the counselor from the county counselor's office. Could you tell us, you introduce yourself?
My name is Keita. I'm with the county counselor's office.
Would you like to sit closer to the microphone?
Sure, I'll scooch up.
I'm gonna move.
I have to speak a little bit louder. All those years of singing lessons were not for nothing, so. But one of the things I do quite often is provide legal opinions for our various governmental bodies. And I also work with our Department of Revenue when they have requests or opinions about taxation and collection. So I know that sometimes the opinions we put out do not give the answers that you're hoping for. And I want to make sure that in those cases, I'm always around to do due diligence to explain to you how we got here, and also to help out with any follow-up questions or problem solving on how to get to what you want to do. So you'll notice that the opinion we put out for this commission was that our authorizing ordinance is pretty clear that as an advisory body, we exist to render advice internally to the county council the county executive, and as necessary, other county departments. That ordinance does not have a component that authorizes us to lend the benefit of our expertise directly to the public, participate in a public education campaign. And I do want to clarify, because I know there was some talk about a state statute that talks about public funds and public appearances in the past, section 115. Do want to clarify that when we're talking about what our ordinance permits us to do, that is a separate matter from what state statute may or may not permit. The limitation in this case comes from ordinance. And that gives us a little more flexibility. If public education is something that you would like to be a part of your mandate, then we could move to amend the local ordinance to allow for that. We have committees in the county that are really advisory, several others, the Youth Advisory Committee, the Justice Services Advisory Board, the Animal Care and Control Advisory Board. But we do also have committees like the Clinical Consumer Majority Board in DPH that have functions beyond giving internal advice. So if that's a possibility that you want to open up for yourselves, that's something you can look into. I heard from Dan that in this instance, you're trying to do a little bit of a pivot and really focus on that internal advocacy, council members and division heads and the executive. And that, I think, is absolutely within your current ordinance.
We'd like to do more, but given the legal opinion, we felt we couldn't. But hearing this today, I think it's definitely worth considering, talking to the council members about amending the ordinance. So do you suggest we go to our council representatives to support this?
Yeah, I think it's something you could broach to the council, and it's also something you could broach to the county executive's office. I don't know the current quality of your relationship with each of these entities. And I do want to bring that up because I think what we're also dealing with here on a practical level, it's not as though engaging in public advocacy would invalidate the ballot measure. Those are not the type of consequences we're talking about here. What we're looking at more on a practical level is if we were to go ahead and do something outside our mandate, and I'm not suggesting you do, what would the repercussions be? The repercussion would be with whether either of these other entities feels that the trust and the relationship has been undermined. And so I'm not foreclosing the possibility that you could also reach out independently to these entities and say, this is an issue where we really do want to publicly educate. Is there some way we can arrange for an exception in this instance?
So when you say reach out to, talking to members of the county council or the county executive, is that, I guess could you elaborate on the process a little bit? How we would go about doing this? And I guess part of it, what I'm hearing you say is it depends on exactly what you're going to do.
Yes. I don't have, other than, placing a name on a flyer, I don't have a clear picture of exactly the sort of public advocacy we're talking about.
So we generally have a good relationship with our council reps and with the county executive. We meet with him a couple times a year. And he has stated support for our activities, both on this commission and our activities on other entities that we've joined that help advocate for issues. So it's not like we're not involved in the community already. It's just that we're not publicly putting our name on flyers and things like that.
Yes.
Can I ask the difference between education and advocacy? We can't do, if I'm a teacher, I can teach about this stuff as me, having to be a council person, whatever
Yes.
this as well. That's okay, because we gotta teach and we gotta educate.
Yes.
But can we educate and not advocate?
That is an interesting question. And it's actually
So part of it, we can actually think.
Let's say we wanted to educate about our opposition to Proposition B, for instance.
well, when we get into opposition or support, that is when we have crossed the line,
Right.
really.
Both sides of the story is education.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Advocacy is one side of the story.
Yes.
But what I've learned is that if you just go with the facts, that's the
Yeah.
education. You know, these are the facts, good, bad, or indifferent. Now, when you start saying, yes, and I support fact 1, 3, 5, and 8, that's
Yes, ma'am.
That's well put. So which can we do? Because under the ordinance, we can't educate or we can't advocate.
So when
Educate.
you as an individual are on the phone with somebody, when you're speaking as yourself and
Yeah.
not on behalf of the OAC, you were absolutely correct earlier. You have the right to advocate or educate as an individual,
you are.
or whatever you see fit.
Yes.
When we are talking about education, I think you are walking over that line at the point where somebody asks, well, what does the OAC think about all these pros and cons?
Mhm.
How do you weigh it up? Where do you come down?
And right
We
now, our
say exactly-
position is, we can only speak as I'm speaking as an individual.
But wait a minute, we've used very similar language to what you just used in public hearings in front of the county council. So it's okay there. We have supported publicly seniors count a year ago at our committee of the whole meeting. Almost all of our agenda was talking about this specifically
So I'm gonna ask you, to whom was your advice
to the county,
directed in this
to the
case?
county council.
I think that's probably the dispositive point, that in that instance, you were not,
Public hearing, everyone was invited.
they were there, I
Advising.
would assume, but who asked you to answer the question?
Yeah. the county reps.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a nuance too, that if,
They didn't ask for our opinion. We propose, we do an annual report saying what we've done in the year, and this was a big part of last year. And so we reported, and we reported why we supported the initiative. We weren't asked about it, but it was part of our report. And then there was much longer discussion after that.
I think to the extent it is wrapped into the giving of your report, because somebody has decided that this report should be given in a public hearing, for instance. I still think the push for that decision is coming from those bodies that you advise, and it's their discretion at that point to open it up.
I have a question.
Yeah, that makes sense that we were doing it for the council, yeah.
What about for the first 10 years, the early years of this commission, we created toolkits for the municipalities. We talked to municipality leaders, and we talked, really throughout the community. We had tools to help improve and quality of life for seniors. And all of that was done inside of council, it was actually the strategic planning department at the time who was putting out this material, and it was from us as the older adult commission, how municipalities, for instance, how to do a walking audit, how to set up an older adult commission at the community. So that was not advising council, and all of that was praised. We ended up getting recognition several years from council for our work in the community. So I'm really struggling with how that how that is different from this current situation.
Yeah, not, without really understanding the detail of how it worked then, my first reaction is maybe we really do need an update to this ordinance. Because that sounds like wonderful work. It sounds like work that county government valued. And yet on the surface, having sort of a direct advisory role to municipalities doesn't sound like it's within that little paragraph.
Well, it was done in auspices of St. Louis County Department of Planning. So I think that's where. Wow.
So there was maybe some,
Commission input on it. Planning put it on the website, planning.
Okay, so planning's name,
The contact was.
Okay.
Through county government.
that might be how we got there, if
Right,
planning
people
was
didn't
acting,
call Dan about it.
okay, if planning was acting as an intermediary.
But where I live, they don't even know nothing about an older adult commission or any other kind. Be honest with you.
So here's the question. So Cookie has mentioned this before, and that's to me very unsettling. They need to know that there's a St. Louis County Older Adult Commission. What if I decided that can I work with Cookie to go out and talk to a group in her community and just tell them about the commission, not about what we're talking about, but here is what you have in St. Louis County, there's an older adult commission, we're here to advocate for you to the county council.
Absolutely. If the direction is that the seniors in your community are telling you what their needs are and you are bringing that advice to our legislative bodies, that direction, that movement, absolutely okay under what we've got for us.
That's why I had a senior day, didn't mean to have it in October, but it was my first, and they was running me more than I was there, but she was there. I had, in fact, invited our board, but I was happy because and hopeful, I think you said you made some connections, because seriously, they don't, and I'm sure probably in her,
Yes,
because I introduced you to it.
exactly. Well, let me share this with you. I think that, if we have either one member of our commission or several, the goal would be, or at least one goal could be, I should say that, to be on the, automatic board meeting agenda for each of our 80 municipalities. Now, that will get it done. And I mean, and just going in to say, you know, we're here to introduce ourselves, to let you know that we are here as a, you know, as members of an older adult commission that St. Louis County has established. And we just want you to know that we are here and we have a vehicle to receive information from you whenever you all might have an issue.
So the vehicle would be the individual reps for that district. So you are the vehicle, you're the vehicle.
And also for the other municipalities, can you imagine if we had a voice just on the agenda, maybe once or twice a year? Doesn't have to be well, it's not gonna be every agenda anyway, but once or twice a year, the Older Adult Commission for each one of these municipalities, they will know that we are here.
My
and what
only-
we can do.
My only comment on that is if you offer it, people will take you up on that offer.
Yes.
And you're a volunteer. You're a volunteer and you don't have staff.
They already, that's already
Well, they
going
don't-
for me.
Yeah, but it could be an onslaught and I don't know, that's another question about whether we need staff.
That's education.
I'm kind of not, I'm just operating from a level basis at this moment, but it bothers me so much that these municipalities do not know
They don't know.
what the county is offering them. It's a PR thing for the county, let's just say it. But it's to know that it's there. I'm not gonna commit to 87 of them, but I'll commit to a bunch of them.
Well, but I think,
I'll do it.
I don't think that we should position it that in a way that says we are here to work for you or to.
Exactly.
But what we can do, as a matter of fact, what I added, I do the annual calendar for the municipality where I'm working this year. I mean, where I'm working right now. And I had a page and the page, the back cover, inside back cover of this little calendar says, I did not know that. And for the, I did not know that, I have the different things listed that are resources that the county offers. It's just one page. It's got 10 things with phone numbers on it for the, you know, county owned resident program or this, that, and the other thing. We can maybe direct people to resources in that way, but not to be calling us as action, you know, as action figures.
Yeah.
We're not the heroes here like that, but we are here to let them know that that the county has established this
just to benefit older adults. And there's something, and direct them to directors, I mean directories, or to whatever. So he did just that.
It's the lack of updating of directories.
Was that what it, oh,
The beneficiary deed going around, no one can
yeah,
access.
that's right.
But when I got sent and I posted it and I talked to the homeowners themselves, 'cause I get them in. The last call, the lady told me that now she's on a waiting list. For to sign up for the beneficiary deed,
Mhm.
where they can take care of their business.
meeting.
At a phenomenal, with $20. Nobody knew nothing about that.
Home repair, like program, and the, especially
Right.
that water line program, where you can have a water line,
Right.
it's like water line insurance.
Yeah,
Excuse me, I thought.
I'm just saying, and it identifies the things that here we work on, cause I'm the newbie, but it helped the community a whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Because they were not aware
Just to know.
those things.
Yeah.
to get their input to take back so that we can do our advisory role.
Yes, although I'm gonna give a little caveat because we get into some interesting sunshine law wrinkles sometimes.
Okay.
So if you are all in one place in one time, you have to be a little bit careful about the discussion you engage in. Because if you are making something that would be a voting decision that relates to the advice you give, or a subcommittee you establish, or a presentation or a position you want to adopt to the county executive and the county council, you are probably doing something that is public meeting business. And mind you, you're allowed to be in the same place at the same time without being in a public meeting. But you can't cross the line into doing public business without that public notice and the agenda. Yes.
And this was that kind of thing that we're talking about. This would be also.
Supreme Court has explicitly said that when we are looking at social gatherings or occasions for networking, for instance, we are not in a public meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
But an alder committee, meeting of the alderman might be considered a public meeting, is that? So if Cookie has a group of her folks,
Yes.
at 11 o'clock in the morning or whatever it is, that would be a social, it's the informational gathering,
And it's just Cookie, it isn't all of us.
Yeah, and
I don't know if we all ever been together.
Yeah, and that's the issue, whether we are looking at a gathering or a public meeting, doesn't even really kick in unless you get a quorum.
That's right.
So if you're under
Oh, yeah.
quorum, we don't even have to think about that. But the other interesting thing I wanted to mention, because it sounds like you all are gonna be receiving some group emails from Bridget and Seniors Count.
Right.
That is another place to be careful, because the definition of meeting has been interpreted broadly to include email chains. So when you are getting a group email about something that is part of your public business, the Seniors Count initiative, for instance, your advocacy to the council members and the executive and the departments, you're gonna wanna be careful not to hit reply all and start up a quorum conversation about this matter.
Oh.
Good point. Lisa, your hand has been up for a while.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I didn't know if you had a question.
No, I do not. Sorry, I hadn't touched.
Oh.
Sorry.
All right, so, I mean, we also, there's certain, work that we have to do outside of the public meeting just to have an agenda. So oftentimes,
Yes.
the chair and the vice chairs will get together just to formulate
Absolutely.
the agenda. That's just, it's not a public meeting.
You're under quorum.
We're under, okay.
Okay.
So we can only meet, in groups of 5 or less.
That really is the case because I plan on having another senior day sometime, I'm hoping in May. So I couldn't invite the whole.
You could, we just can't be
We just
talking
can't
business.
Yeah, we can.
I mean, like,
Social events.
introduce themselves, like who they are,
Yes.
people know they're in it.
Yes.
Yes.
You can all listen together to the concerns of the community members at that senior day. You just want to be careful if you've got a quorum in the room that you don't cross the line into committing to taking a position to the county.
I mean, I think the one item that I really think we should go to the county about amending the ordinance is being able to put our names and our titles on letters in support of a specific initiative that aids older adults. We should be able to not just advise the county council and the county executive and managers of different divisions. We should be able to say, this is important, public. We support this.
We want to advocate
Yes.
as a commission. So how do we, what are the steps we would need to find someone who would sponsor legislation to open up the ordinance to change the language in the ordinance, correct? Is that?
Yes. Yes, so I think the first step would be to get in touch with county executive and the county council, because I think those are the two bodies that are going to be most influenced by your request to sort of speak directly to the public and independently. And if that's something that both of those bodies would be on board with, then it's probably a matter of reaching out to our office, get that amendment
Drafted.
written up. Or nowadays that we've got that split, that might wind up being the county councilors or the county council's, pardon me, attorney, and not us. So.
Well, I think it's an uphill battle for us to get an amendment, because I'm not sure that we have the support we would need to amend it.
Which is why I'm wondering, and I will never advise you to do something that is outside your legal authority, but it might be worth putting feelers out to the council and to the executive to find out whether by so doing, in this instance, you would be stepping on anybody's toes. Might be useful to know, even if you don't do anything with it.
And then you mentioned earlier that we could ask for a one-time exemption for the seniors count initiative.
I don't know what that would look like. I think probably the first step is finding out whether it's something that would go down smoothly with each of these bodies in the first place. And, should you have a follow-up question about how getting the official okay to do so would look, to get to that point, I'm happy to hear from y'all.
Any other?
I think with some of the concerns about the Sunshine Law that have been percolating around,
Yeah, none
there
of us
may
want
be
to get,
undue caution.
yeah, none of us want to get sued by a member of the public who seems to see our name on something and think that we're breaking the law.
The last thing I wanted to say, because I know we had a lot of discussion today about the state level senior tax freeze legislation and how it interacts with different taxing jurisdictions and taxing districts. And I do not know whether the senior fund would be set up as a separate tax district, like the sewer tax, for instance, or the blind pension fund. Or whether,
Is it set up differently? I mean, there are 56 counties that have already have a senior fund in the state. Have they done differently in each county?
I don't know whether the levy is set up as creating a new taxing district or whether it is rolled into the general fund for each county.
Well, it's actually separate. It's like the Children's Services Fund.
Okay,
It's set up with, it would have its own board, it has its
Okay.
own director. It would be, the county would collect it, but then it goes to them, and then that government body would disperse
Yeah.
the grants to the appropriate agencies.
That governing body.
So I don't know what that falls under, but that's,
Yeah, and they're independent
yes.
of the council. So,
They're supporting legislation that has been around for quite some time,
Yeah,
maybe back to the early 90s or 80s.
it's been
It's been around for.
It's been probably in the last 10 years, it's maybe a little longer,
so the biggest entity in the state to improve the practice.
so if it would be of use to you to have a legal opinion that lays out sort of our office's position in this, on this constitutional issue that the state may have created when they legislated the senior tax freeze, you're welcome to submit a request for it. I promise they're not always bad news. People do sometimes just request them for informational purposes. I want to understand how this law works right now and what might be the outcomes of litigation.
Formulate a question. So, and I would use the same vehicle that I used the last time, that
Yes.
pray for difference.
Well, I think this time we need have no fear because it sounds like the inquiry at this point is more informational than anything else. What are the potential defects in the legislation? How might we see it shake out?
Would be very helpful. There are more
There's
questions
some
than
disagreement.
answers, and the St. Louis County did it very differently than St. Louis City.
And our local ordinance does have a provision that says, you know, should the definition of how this state level credit applies constitutionally change, you know, we are designed to flexibly go with the conclusion the state Supreme Court reaches, for instance.
Okay, and I'm gonna answer the wrong question, because you were actually talking about the senior tax freeze, and I was actually talking about the seniors account. So it was an inappropriate response.
No worries at all.
But there,
No apology needed. We've got a levy we're talking about. We've got a credit we're talking about.
I don't know how that senior tax freeze is set up. I got nothing on that.
I have a secret wish sometimes that someday somebody will consult me when we do sunshine law amendments, because that is when we use some consistency internally. So
Yeah. So what I think do we want to put maybe on our next month's agendas, you know, how to formulate questions that could become inquiries? Or do we want to do that today? We're running out of time.
You're talking about the
I mean, I think we have to understand what we really want to ask
Yeah.
about, I think both.
Yeah, I think there are two questions that we really need to understand. And I think it would be helpful to all of us to get an
Yeah.
official opinion.
Because we've been asking Jamie the question, and Jamie has gone to her resources and come up with certain conclusions, but the conclusions are muddy. The conclusions are, well, we're gonna have to wait for litigation to understand.
So your questions would involve the intersection of the fund and the freeze.
Yes, yes. Because I think it will help with the messaging to get support for the fund if we all are speaking this, you know, using the same information. We all have a consensus that this is really what we understand to be lawful. Right now, it's not there. Do we have to take a vote to get out of this?
Yeah, we have to vote.
special session?
Then we want to take getting legal opinion.
Do that when we get out of closed session. Okay, so is there a motion to get out of closed session?
So moved.
Any second?
Second,
Second, all in favor?
I,
Yeah.
Christine, Cookie, Liz, Lisa, Christine. Christine's gone.
Yeah.
Wayne, Lillian,
Yes.
Dan, yes. Okay, I think we have. Unanimous. Okay. So then, under new business, the question would be, do we want to come up with some questions that we want to ask in our next meeting? Because I think it's, we end at 11. Yeah. So I just say, let's put it on the agenda. We don't have to vote on this unless there's a specific thing you want to vote on.
No, I just think that we do need to get a legal opinion on the tax freeze, what you said, the intersection between the tax freeze and the senior fund.
It will be on the agenda for next month. It will be in our meeting minutes as well.
And that will be helpful because by that point, we'll know
We will have.
how we're moving forward.
That's true, yeah, because it could be within weeks. I mean, the county council meets, what, 3 Tuesdays a month? And so it could be in January that Councilwoman Banger and Councilman Archer.
Did see in the paper yesterday where Bangor is thinking about proposing legislation and another tax. So
What was that?
it was a use tax.
They talked about that in the.
And I was just, I,
Well, I think we discussed this in our last meeting. I had spoken with Charlie Hinterleiter with the St. Louis Realtors, and he attended one of the public hearings where he left with the impression that the use tax was not going to be on the ballot anytime soon.
I'm just saying, it was buried in one of the articles.
I'm not sure that,
On proposed
Yeah.
taxes that she was thinking about.
and that's a huge impact on what we're trying to do, because
Exactly.
having two taxes
Yeah,
on the
it's-
same ballot is something we don't really work.
Well, that was in a news story the other day. We had a meeting on Monday. With the these 24 municipalities that all served by the Normandy district. There had to have been about 50 people there. And these are not just general residents. These are the leaders of all of those municipalities and the police chiefs and all of that. And Richard Davis was there, and she was saying, and it did come on the news, about this possible new use tax that would be on the ballot. So I don't know and that was Monday night, because the next night, it's Tuesday, day before yesterday, they were going to be having a meeting. I don't know where that went or anything. I haven't heard anything more, but they brought it up in this big session and talked about that prospect, that possibility of that use tax. So I'm just not sure what the deal is going to be.
Yeah, my concern was that Bangor was the one whose name was attached to it.
Yeah.
And this one.
So.
What is
Well-
the use tax?
It was
It's a use
proposed,
tax on,
Consumption by the person consuming. I was just trying to understand it.
It's a use, but it's.
you have the.
You said that.
But it has to be, we talked about that before, that's.
Yeah, I thought the goal was to fund, wasn't it to fund help fund the gap in the revenues that we currently have.
that was the
for
article,
operation.
that we're short in revenue, so this is one.
Yeah, and so what they did instead was they just slashed services.
Use tax is imposed directly upon the person that stores, uses, or consumes tangible personal property. Different than a sales tax, which requires a sale at retail. But still.
So does a use tax have to do with Amazon?
Yeah, and they talked about
They talked about
That's
it with the
what-
personal tax on.
So it's a use tax, it would be taxing, sorry guys.
It says local
Yes,
use
we are.
tax enacted by cities and counties in Missouri to create a level playing field between local brick and mortar businesses.
Right.
Mhm.
So it's the Amazon, I mean,
And that's, and it's about the trucks for Amazon and all those fulfillment centers and all those trucks that use our roads and use this and the other. And
Yeah.
so, and because they do use resources that the county has put in place in order to, this would be helpful to maintain.
Yeah. But you go to brick and mortar, your taxes and 10%,
The impact on citizens is that the tax paid by these larger corporations trickles down into higher costs for items to us.
Mhm.
We end up paying for it.
It always does.
I mean,
Yeah, this will be a tax to the consumer.
This
This will be leveling the playing field.
Yeah, the
So
more
now if
you
you
order
buy
from
from
Amazon, the more tax you're gonna
Your
pay.
tax is considerably lower than if you go to.
I didn't understand.
Dan,
Yes.
question, is there anybody that we could invite to speak at one of our meetings that might give us some framework for some of the things we're struggling with right now? Is there anybody in the county, without going into a private, I'm sorry, what's the session? Without going into a closed session, is there somebody that could help us out? We have a lot of questions surrounding communication, surrounding how the taxes inside of county work versus state taxes. Is there somebody that we could fire questions to and they could kind of give us a framework?
Like a manager at the county, for instance, somebody who deals with these issues, or what are you thinking? An attorney?
I
or-
don't have a
Well, who that
person
would
in
be?
mind. I'm thinking I have more questions than answers, and I'm not comfortable speaking about a lot of things now. So I thought there could be somebody. I thought today's session, closed session, was really, really helpful. Probably the most helpful we've had in months and months of understanding this. But
Could be somebody from Jake Zimmerman's office?
Possibly. So just understanding, we're asking these questions, how does this impact? Do we have a history of how the taxes have gone and what's failed and what hasn't, and what the general perceptions are of each type of tax? Would any of that be helpful? And is there anybody inside county who could answer those questions, or outside of county, any agency?
Maybe starting with the tax assessor.
Yeah, I think we can look into who might be the best person to sort of do a local taxation primer, if that's what you're
Yeah.
thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, any share outs from commission members, any events? You want attendance at?
No more than I did a turkey thing in November. Served 56 people.
That's
I have one quick question. Let's see, Sam Page had announced that he's not running again.
Right.
So when is that election going to be?
November.
November.
November,
Yeah.
okay, just want to make sure.
And is it the council, I think the council members who are in even numbered districts
Mhm.
have their reelection in odd numbered years, and so like, for instance, so I think like, for instance, Lisa Clancy is District 5, but I think she runs, if she is running, and I don't even know, for reelection, it would be this year, 2026.
She's on it's even.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a real.
It's confusing, but
Well, I was just asking that question because this is just a question to the commission. Do we need to have kind of a candidates forum for, to anybody who's getting ready to run, to just kind of get a feel for that, if we host the candidates forum, to get a feel for where all these new county executive candidates stand on city issues?
how would we do that without?
I mean, I do the women vote.
You know,
That's what I wanted to do while she's here.
You know, without being political, So if we wanted to understand if there are people like, let's say Brian Williams, for instance, who will be running, and we wanted to understand his stances on.
That's why
And Dennis Hancock, we have been in meetings with Dennis Hancock, so we have better understanding, but if we wanted to invite someone like, Brian Williams to one of our meetings, would that be in violation of anything?
So, we are back in open session,
Mm-hmm.
so if you don't terribly mind, Mr. Rosenthal, sending me a follow-up email after this meeting, just so I can,
And that's just a quick, I mean, if
Run
I'm
that.
talking about like the League of Women Voters, non-political, just, informational, that's all. If we have a candidates forum so that anybody can come, but if there are 5 or 6 different, people that will be running for that office, the question is, how do you like senior citizens? What do you think about this?
I can't speak for Brian, but I have been to some of his things that he has.
And that's why I don't even want to get into any specifics. The question is simply that the Older Adult Commission, right, you're the commission, and we are really interested in older adults and what benefits.
He always talk about his mom.
Well, where are these new people who are gonna come since, the county executive now has been in there for a long time with the new group? We just kind of want to know,
I understand, I don't want to make y'all close and open again,
All right,
so.
okay. Well, I'll send you an email on that one. And just, if nobody else has any share outs, I do have an additional comment on something we already discussed, which is, Liz, could you follow up with county prosecutor's office to see if there's anything we can do to catalyze movement on the elder abuse issue? Because I think that, because we had a really good meeting with them and we haven't really heard anything back, and I think.
Well, I think the problem is that coalition it doesn't have a leader at the moment. And so there's no one who is willing to host a meeting or willing to lead a meeting.
Yeah, but that, one of the helpful agenda items for that coalition is to get support from county prosecutors.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do that.
We had a watch meeting and I invited and, prosecuting attorney Melissa could not attend, but she sent some people and they were awesome in their support. You want their numbers? I couldn't see.
You know what? Yeah.
And we met with Melissa.
I kind of call Melissa.
I think it'd be worthwhile because it's very.
Bye all. I have to leave.
Okay,
Thank
all
you.
right, it is 10:58. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Our next meeting is going to be February 5th, by the way, and it's going to be hybrid. It worked out not terribly this time. I just have to remember to look up at the screen once in a while.
It's easier when you're sitting here.
Yeah. And so we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Dan, one thing, I came to the end of the conversation, you said that's going on the agenda, but I wasn't here for the part about what that's going to be when I first came back in.
Oh, what we want to have on the agenda is